Welcome to my fantasy world, where you can walk on clouds and humanity lives in the mountain peaks. Some of you might ask, why? To which I would say, because it is freaking awesome. It's a good question though. Why would humanity live in the mountain peaks in this world? The answer is because they're stuck there. At the bottom of the known world is a gaseous layer of air that is highly toxic to organic material and causes chemical burns. It's a green-yellow layer of air. Nobody knows exactly how far down it goes, or if it covers the whole rest of the planet. There are a few creatures that go below this level, so it is assumed that there will be something down there. I have plenty of ideas for this, but I won't get into this right now. So how do the clouds form in this world? As the clouds rise, they condense and solidify. The middle layer, where most people live, is where clouds are thick enough to walk on. Above a certain level, the clouds are too condensed and heavy to go any higher, and will drop down and shift around. They'll also slowly melt on their own when they reach thermals, usually around mountains where the sun heats the stone. In this layer of air where clouds are walkable, most of the transportation is done at the upper levels, where clouds are more solid. The drop from here is not a death sentence, but it is very dangerous to fall, because clouds are thin enough to become difficult to traverse. Runners can actually drown in clouds if they get stuck in the middle of a big enough cloud without an air supply. They slowly fall through and might not have enough air to reach the other side. If they do though, they would drop down and potentially fall onto another cloud and hopefully be able to climb out of it easily enough. But the further down you go, the thinner the clouds are, so it requires a lot of energy to get back out of them. They're extremely tiring to climb at low levels, so sheer exhaustion is always an issue. The floating cities hanging from clouds using nets are formed using the high-level clouds, but the cities would drop down a little bit due to their weight. They constantly pull in new clouds to keep themselves at a certain height. In this world, I've decided not to incorporate any kind of magic system so far. I think the world is magical enough on its own. So I'm calling the genre high altitude, low fantasy. Here I'm starting to sketch out a Cloud Runner outpost. This would be a solitary peak between major cities. Cloud Runner messages would use this as a rest stop. Wouldn't have a lot, but there would often be 10 or so Cloud Runners at any given time, and they might stay for a few hours or a few days. Often it would be a relaxing spot to get away from the movement of all the people and just enjoy the view. They'd pull in the water they need by taking off small pieces of clouds and heating them up in a large metal bowl with a fire underneath. For food other than what they brought with them, they would scavenge for nearby mushrooms on the spire itself, but mostly hunt for food from nearby birds. I imagine them using this as a hub to share gossip, train, spar with weapons on the clouds, hunt, and relax. The landscape itself would be very jagged, with the water melting on the edges of the mountains. Deep trenches would form in the rock to create fast-moving rivers and waterfalls. The erosioning happening on the edges of the mountains instead of rain coming from above like in our world would make for much more uneven and jagged mountains with lots of sheer rock faces. An overall feel of the lower areas in the world would be very wet, humid, and warmer. The higher areas would be colder and dry. Above the cloud line there would be no water, and all water would need to be brought up as clouds pulled up or melted and brought up as water. The toxic layer of air would not usually be visible because there'd be a constant layer of misty, less substantial clouds obscuring it from view. Most industry and trade would happen at the middle levels. The elite would be living above the cloud line in safety, and farming and mining and other gathering of basic resources would be at lower levels. They'd use wheel and lift systems on floating cloud cities that would be able to bring up materials from the lower levels without having to bring them up through the steep rock faces. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate any likes, subscribes, or shares with anyone you think might enjoy it. I would also love to hear any ideas you might have for this world, as well as any logical holes that I'm missing. I don't consider any of this canon yet, and I'm willing to change any of it if it doesn't make sense. Also, let me know what you'd like to hear about more in future videos. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next video.